Hey guys, Kitti Minx here. I hope you all are doing well. A couple of quick disclaimers. The first one is that, in case you can't tell by the title, this one is going to cover some pretty heavy topics. So if it's something you can't handle at all in any capacity, I understand, and I encourage you to just skip this video and wait for the next one. But if you can handle it, then my next disclaimer is I am not a professional and I am not a substitute for a professional. And by professional, I mean a doctor, like a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor. Someone with the knowledge and skill set and practice to deal with these subject matters in a professional capacity. I am only talking based on my own personal experiences and experiences shared with me by others. So please don't use this in lieu of actual psychiatric help. If you need help, as always, I am a strong advocate for getting professional help if it's something that you can afford, because I'm aware most services aren't free, though I do know, at least in the United States, there are free or low cost accessible services which you can look up online to see if there are any in your area. Also, there are online and phone-based services, which I've mentioned in a previous video, which you can also look up online and see which ones are available in your country. And if you are in a serious crisis, please, please, please use a hotline that is located in your region and call it, because those people are also well trained to deal with these kinds of situations and can really be a big help to you. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about my own personal experiences and how I cope with bipolar, depression, anxiety, and mental illness in general, if only to spread awareness about this and to let you know that you're not alone. And if you also deal with depression, anxiety, or mental illness, give this video a like so you can help tell others that they're not alone in their struggles. And please, if you want to, share your story in the comments down below, because I think we can have a very healthy, open discussion on the subject matter that could greatly help people. And so with all that out of the way, I would like to start by talking about just how I cope and how it feels for me to deal with these things. I'm going to start with anxiety because it's probably the one thing I deal with on the daily, and my anxiety has been deemed pretty crippling because it has, over the course of my life, prevented me from doing things that most people are able to do pretty easily. One of the big things is driving. I can't drive for a multitude of reasons. The actual big reason is my eyesight. I can see things up close, which is why I can do things on the computer, and I can read with reading glasses, and with my phone, I use my phone on a kind of slightly zoomed in setting, but I can't really see things that are too far away, and I have no depth perception, and I am legally blind in my left eye. And the cause of the legal blindness in my left eye isn't something that can be really fixed with glasses or contacts. Now, glasses or contacts can help my right eye, but it's been deemed kind of moot by eye doctors because it really does nothing for the left eye. The left eye has optic nerve damage, so in terms of that damage, it would require a type of surgery in which is currently just far too expensive, even with insurance, because the technology is still fairly new. But maybe in the future I'll be able to get it. So I know that has nothing to do with mental health, but that is one of the contributing factors as to why I can't drive. But the other big reason why I can't drive is I have huge, huge, huge anxiety with cars. Like, even just being a passenger in a car gives me anxiety. I've had panic attacks in cars. Um, Part of it, oops, sorry about that. Part of it stems from being in an accident back when I was in high school and learning to drive. Um, and it happened because of my eyesight. I was making a left turn and I literally didn't see the car coming and I sideswiped a pickup truck. So even though it wasn't a major accident, it was enough of one, especially at a young age. I was only like 15. It was enough to really freak me out and give me a lifelong anxiety of being in cars. And just the thought of driving and being the one in control, especially because I've seen other drivers on the road, especially in my area, it just makes me incredibly nervous. And I feel like if I were to drive a car, it would be a literal death sentence to me. So I get nervous in cars with people when they're tailgating, when they're speeding, even if they're only going like 3 to 5 miles above the speed limit, it makes me nervous. Tight turns make me very nervous. A lot of bumps make me nervous. Weather conditions can make me nervous. And fortunately, I have been in cars with people who are very patient and understanding, especially my partner Dee. But regardless, just the fact that I have immense anxiety of cars limits me to walking places, limited public transportation, and using services like Uber and Lyft, which, being cars, still gives me anxiety, especially because I'm in a car with a stranger. But sometimes when I gotta get things done, I have no other choice but to bite the bullet and do it when I can't get a ride from someone I know. So that is something that has deeply, deeply affected my life. And let me know in the comments if you have anxiety with motor vehicles and it's limited you from driving, especially if you live in an area like I do where people really do rely on cars to get pretty much anywhere. I fly a lot, especially for my other job, but I still get anxiety a bit on airplanes, especially during takeoff and landing, just because I've heard so many stories about plane crashes and stuff. And I was a kid in the New York, New Jersey area during 9/11. I saw 9/11 happen in real time, and I had one of my immediate family members worked in the area of the Twin Towers, so that terror incident traumatized me pretty badly, which also affected my anxiety when it comes to air travel, because you never know when something bad might happen on an airplane, if someone's gonna hijack the plane, or if the pilot is gonna do something. You never know. And it's something that gives me really, really bad anxiety. So I don't have anxiety as bad as I used to when I was younger because I have been flying more frequently, but I still have anxiety. And just on the daily, I have anxiety. I have anxiety over the work I do. I am kind of a perfectionist, so I have anxiety over whether or not people will receive my videos. I have anxiety over just some daily tasks that I have to do. I have anxiety over whether or not I'm a good parent to my child and a good partner to Dee. I just have daily anxiety, and I have to take medication for it. So also let me know in the comments down below if you have anxiety that you have to actually take medication for it to help keep in check, or else without it you're just a wreck like I am, or you're prone to panic attacks. My anxiety is also bad enough that I have problems answering phone calls, making phone calls, even sometimes texting people and answering texts. So it becomes kind of a problem. And the same thing with emails. If I have to email somebody, I get a lot of anxiety over it, and I just have to make sure I word everything just right, or else I get a mild panic attack, and just all the worries just go through my head over, if I said something wrong, or I misworded myself and the person gets the wrong idea. And when it comes to the phone, my phone anxiety is so bad that sometimes I can call like local family members if something needs to get done, like I need something picked up or it's something involving my kid. But other family members, like just to say hi to like my grandmother, I get anxiety pretty bad about making that phone call, to the point where it seems like I've avoided family members and it's made them upset with me. And that just makes my anxiety feel even more intense, and it just makes me feel even worse that I've made people upset with me because I've been too anxious to reach out and call them and interact with them. And I also have anxiety when it comes to my friendships. I always wonder if I'm being a good friend, and that I'm not avoiding people maliciously if I'm having like a bad day or a bad week and don't really feel like talking to anyone. And I worry about things like that because sometimes due to my other issues, I do get avoidant and I don't talk to people. And I realize that doesn't make me the most accessible friend, and that makes me feel pretty bad. So, if you deal with anxiety, let me know your story in the comments down below so other people know that they're not alone with having anxiety, especially if you have general anxiety like I do. Next I want to talk about is depression, which will also lead to my bipolar. My depressive episodes, as you've known if you've listened to my previous vlogs, especially my recent ones, they can get pretty bad. Trigger warning. I have attempted suicide in the past. Just once I've attempted it, and it put me in a psychiatric hospital for a period of time. This was 7 years ago. But even since then, I've had really bad depressive episodes that have taken me down that really dark, really bad mental path. And I experienced that pretty recently, to the point where my psychiatrist, as I mentioned in another vlog, has considered me to be a higher risk case and wants me to reach out and talk to him more frequently. So, and basically, I want to go back to anxiety for a second because I forgot to describe how it feels. Anxiety for me, it feels like my mind's racing, my heart's pounding, Sometimes I shake. Sometimes I sweat. Sometimes I just feel this existential dread and this feeling of impending doom, that just the worst of the worst is going to happen. And, when I'm in the car with D, or just with D in general, and I feel really bad anxiety, I will like grab his hand and hold it really tightly. Or if we're just hanging out and I feel anxiety, I grab onto him and hold him really tightly. I've experienced anxiety around my kid where just out of nowhere I just hug my kid, if only to help me feel better, because I get anxiety over like, what if something horrible happens to my kid when they're not home and they're at school, or I'm not home because I'm at my other job. And so that's kind of what anxiety feels like to me. Just this constant feelings of worry, constant feelings of dread, constant feelings of just an impending sense of doom and gloom. And it can get pretty bad where I just fear the worst all the time. And that's why I need medication to help me with that and curb it, so I can get by and cope and be able to do simple daily tasks. So anyway, back to depression. What depression feels like for me is that I just feel really low and just down on myself. I second guess everything. I think nothing I do is ever enough. And I hate myself. And I feel like I'm the worst person ever. And the world would be better off without me. So, like, what's the point in doing anything? What's the point in being around? What's the point in talking to people? Nobody cares. Nobody understands. And my logic brain tells me that's not true. But when depression brain takes over, logic brain is kind of put on the back burner and it kind of fights for dominance. Like, logic brain's like, no, Kitty, you know this is wrong. You know what you're thinking is wrong. People do care about you. You are important. People like what you do, etc., etc. But depression brain just can convince me that everything I do is for nothing and everything is pointless. And I get pretty nihilistic, which isn't always that great a thing. And, when I get really depressed, I sleep a lot. It makes me very, very, very tired. I sleep a lot. I just like burrito myself in my bed with all my blankets. I kind of like make a nest in my bed. I kind of always have a nest in my bed, but it gets more nesty if my depression's really bad. And if my depression's really bad, I stop caring about things like my appearance. I'll just wear baggy clothes and like sweatpants and baggy hoodies and house slippers, and I don't bother with makeup. I don't really fuss with my hair. I'll at most just wash my face and do the very bare minimum in the shower. And this is TMI, but if I'm really depressed, I'll go a long time without shaving or waxing. I put off doing things like getting my nails done or getting my hair done, or pretty much unless I'm going to work my other job, unless I'm going to a really fancy planned event, I just don't bother with that kind of upkeep, even though that is the norm for me. And basically, when I'm really depressed, I just don't do the key things to take care of like my personal appearance. I either eat a lot to like I eat my feelings and I eat things that aren't good for me, or sometimes with my depression's really bad, I am not hungry and I stop eating entirely, and that can last for days or even over a week, and it worries people. And it gets pretty bad, and my thoughts just get extremely negative, And I don't feel sad. I just feel kind of hollow and numb and empty. Like there's like a piece of me missing, or a piece of me is broken, and just like nothing matters. So that is what depression is like for me. And I take medication to help combat that, because depression is at least the clinical depression is a chemical imbalance, but depressive episodes can be triggered like by outside events. Like, while my most recent depressive episode started while I was at work, it was only made worse by the passing of my cousin, which was determined by my psychiatrist in my most recent visit, that the passing of my cousin was really the catalyst that made my depressive episode even worse, because I was in mourning and just missed her so much that it just made me feel worse and put me in a spot that was really hard to climb back out of. So things like that, it doesn't even have to be major. It could be a minor thing, like someone saying something not nice to you online, or a misunderstanding with a friend or a family member, or getting into an argument, or, just having a bad day can be enough to trigger a depressive episode in people. And I know that just from talking to others who battle depressive episodes and depression in general. So let me know in the comments if you experience depression and how it is for you and how you experience it, so others know they're not alone. And now I'm going to get into bipolar. And my bipolar, I actually experience more lows and mixed episodes than highs, but my highs, the manic episodes, can be pretty bad. I become a workaholic where I just want to get all my projects done at once. I have issues with money where I spend a lot of money. I go on shopping sprees, even to the point of buying stuff I don't need. I spend recklessly, and I've actually had to curb that myself by going to my bank and putting a spending limit on my bank account where I can only take out so much cash at a time, and only spend so much on my debit card and my credit cards, so as to avoid emptying my bank account and maxing out my cards. So, and that is something that has deeply affected my family and has gotten me in trouble financially, to the point where it's put me in debt. And while I have put myself in debt with necessities like healthcare and using my money and using my cards for necessities, I've also, due to manic episodes, just spent recklessly, like buying clothes I don't really need, and makeup I don't really need, and shoes I don't really need, and tech gadgets I don't really need. Or I'll buy a lot of toys and things for my kid and clothes that they don't really need, because my kid already has plenty of that. So I just go on sprees like that. Or I'll, in lieu of cooking at home, when I have a fridge full of food and a pantry full of cooking supplies, I'll just eat out or order in a lot instead and waste money that way. Which is also something I do when I'm depressed. If I'm too depressed to cook, I order in a lot, which can be not very healthy for you, especially if it's fast food kind of stuff. But back to my manic episodes, I also have engaged in reckless sexual activities, which, because this is YouTube, I'm not going to go into detail about, but I can just say I have done reckless sexual things. And this was more so when I was younger, but I would disappear and not reply to people reaching out to me, where I would just go off with a random friend and stay with them for days on end, hanging out and just doing BS things. Or one time when I was away for work, I met someone in town when I had a day off, and I decided after work I would take an extra week, and I spent a whole week with this person in another state, not caring about the people at home because I was manic, and that's not good. That's not healthy. That's terrible because it affects other people and it hurts other people. But I can say with therapy and medication, it has really curbed that quite a bit. I've gotten a lot more frugal with my spending. While I still can get a little reckless with my sexual activity, it's only limited to when I'm at work. And when I'm at work, I assure you, I am super duper safe. I follow all the rules of the place and I follow all the laws. But, when I engage, and also I've been monogamous with D, and I have not cheated on him, which was part of my reckless sexual activity in the past. But I can say with full honesty, I have not cheated on D, and which is a very good thing. And we do get pretty frisky in our bedroom activities, and some I consider some of our activities and what I enjoy on the more reckless side, but we do our best to be safe about it, and so far nothing bad has happened. And we do try, and D is hyper vigilant about keeping me in check and keeping both of us in check when it comes to things like that. And he's been pretty good about keeping an eye on me and making sure I'm okay and doing what I'm supposed to. But that's how my manic episodes are. So when I'm depressed, I'm really depressed, and my depressive episodes last longer. And then I have mixed episodes where I'm not super low, but I'm not super high either. I'm just kind of in between, and it's very flip-floppy. And it's like, it can be like just over the course of a day where I start the day really high and then just drop really low. And that's a mixed episode. So I experience both of the extremes in a single day or in a single week, and those aren't very good. But I am on medication that helps curb these things, and I get professional help, I get therapy, and I do things for, that's my doggy. I will do things for self-care, which I'll now talk about. I have pets, which help. I actually got a dog back in 2012 to help me with my depression, to get me out of the house, because when you have a dog, you have to let the dog outside. And at the time when I got my dog, I lived in an apartment, so I had to walk my dog a few times a day, and that got me outside and in the fresh air, which helped. And of course, a dog just helps by being playful and being loyal and being protective and being cuddly and snuggly, which my dog is. She's a very good doggo. She's a very, very good doggo. I love my little doggy. Well, she's not very little, but you know what I mean. She's just a very sweet little pupper. And I have cats, which aren't the best pet for me because I actually consider my cats more high maintenance than my dog. But I find their purring very therapeutic, and they're very snuggly and cuddly, especially when I'm on the couch, like watching a movie or watching TV or on my laptop, and they come snuggle up next to me or climb onto my lap and curl up and or they do the kitty loaf, and they just start purring and nuzzling, and it's just really cute and really sweet. And I have a parrot, which acts like an alarm system. Anyone comes in the door or comes near the house or rings the doorbell, the bird goes off like an alarm system. So ain't nobody's breaking into my house, because that bird will go off and be really loud and wake everybody up. So the bird has sometimes squawked loud enough that the neighbors have been like, oh, there's a bird in that house. I fortunately haven't got any complaints about the bird, but the bird gets pretty noisy. But the bird also is very nice and is a very sweet bird. And the bird will, like, share food with me. Food, of course, that is safe for the bird to eat. And will sit on my shoulder and let me pet her feathers. And then this is less of a therapy animal. It's more my kid's pet than mine, but I have a snake. Snake is just a snake. He just chills out in his enclosure. He eats his food, he drinks his water, he hides in his little hidey places. And when he's not shedding and not grumpy, I take him out and I handle him, and my kid handles him. And he's a very chill snake, so it's kind of therapeutic in that way to just kind of sit there and hang out with a snake. And I do other things for self-care. I talk to Dee. I talk to friends when I can. I talk to family when I can and feel up to it. I try my best when I'm not feeling too low to do things I enjoy, like obviously making videos and my cosplay. I try to work on cosplay. I mess around with makeup. I mess around with fashion. I try writing and poetry and drawing, even though I'm no longer very good at it for reasons that have to do with mental illness. I used to be pretty good at drawing, especially when I was in college, but I just kind of lost my talent because of the progression of my mental illness, which kind of sucks, but what can you do? I do think with more practice, when I'm up for it, I could probably get back to where I was, but I'll never be as talented or as good as Anna, which is why I have her doing my art and paying her for it, so there's that. But anyway, and also just getting art from Anna is a form of self-care, because her art is really good and really special, and it's absolutely worth the money to me, because it makes me very, very, very happy. And I enjoy looking at it, and I enjoy using it in my thumbnails and in merchandise and stuff, and using it to make other people happy. And I can say, like, one of my forms of self-care is brightening other people's day and making them happy and doing good deeds. That is a form of self-care to me. And also my faith. To those of you who don't know, I'm Jewish, and while I'm due to where I live, I don't go to temple regularly. I do practice my faith, and I have faith in a higher power, and I find through prayer and meditation to be a form of self-care, and to just know that the higher power is there and his understanding of me helps. And just the practices of prayer and the rituals that come with my faith and come with my culture help me feel part of a culture and part of a community, which is a form of self-care. And I fully respect people who don't believe in religion and don't have a faith. you do you. There are other ways to cope outside of faith. Like I described other things that help me cope, like having hobbies and personal interests are great ways to have self-care and cope with your problems and your struggles. Like I have my interests, like I have things I enjoy, like I have my favorite TV shows, my favorite movies, my favorite anime and comics and characters and things that I just really like and really enjoy indulging in. Like whenever I'm having a bad day, I'll watch My Little Pony or Miraculous Ladybug or Supernatural or Doctor Who, and it'll help me feel better. Or I'll watch like one of my favorite movies, and things like that really do help me. So, this is my own experience with mental illness and how I cope with it. And I just want you to know that if you experience any of this, that you're not alone. Other people in the world struggle with this. And there is hope. There is a future. And you are loved. You're valid. There are people in the world who care about you. I care about you. And everyone deep down is a good person and is capable of doing good and being good. And I firmly, strongly believe that. So, as always, my email inbox is always open, as are the comments section on my videos, especially videos like this. Don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said before, I am no substitute for a professional, but I'm very understanding, and I can just offer a listening ear to help you. And that's also what good friends and family can be. And also a reminder, friends and family are also no substitute for professional help, as while you're by no means a burden on them, but if they are dealing with their own struggles, it can make things a little more difficult on them. But any good friend or family member will listen to you and at least be a listening ear. So don't hesitate to reach out to friends and family members if you can, if you have that support system to help you cope and get by, because that is part of what I do too when I can. But I have learned from personal experience, my own personal experience. I can't speak for other people, but from my own personal experience, to not rely too heavily on friends and family, especially in lieu of professional help. So this has been my experience in dealing with mental illness. Let me know your experiences in the comments down below, especially if you have a different kind of mental illness than what I have. I'm always curious to learn more and be more open-minded and more understanding. So feel free to use the comment section to just vent and let it all out. This is a loving and supporting community, and we're all here for you. And just know that I love you and I care about you, and I hope you all have a blessed and pleasant day. Love you guys.